So tell me about Wingspan. How does this work?
Well, we have a flying prototype and we have granted US patents on the wing design. And if you've ever played with one of those lightsabers when you're a kid and you flick it out and it expands, it's
Yeah.
a very similar concept. So our drone looks more like an airplane as opposed to a quadcopter, what you probably see or can buy on Amazon with the spinners. This looks more like an airplane. It actually fits in a backpack, but has an 8-foot wingspan and expands out like those lightsabers.
Michelle Madaras is a co-founder of this new endeavor, and also you're not the chief information officer.
I'm the chief customer officer.
We're talking earlier. You're kind of the chief of everything when you're a startup, right?
Yeah, we have a wonderful team we've been working with. We're probably up to about 10 engineers at this point, developing not only the hardware portion, but the software portion. So really exciting times. And we're just excited to really have the warm welcome that we have had into the space.
Michelle and I have known each other for, I guess, about several years. We worked
Yeah.
together
Don't
in.
date me.
Well, it was. I had to look it up. 2014, 2017 is when we
Yeah.
worked together at in your former life as a television journalist, and you've done a lot in the 5 years since you kind of moved on, and in tremendous amount. So I've been kind of following what you're kind of doing, and that's why I was like, tell me more about your startup here with the drone industry, and it's got to be a crowded space, if you will. I mean, I would think, obviously the Chinese have done a lot. Tell me about the American market, what that kind of looks like as far as the drone industry goes.
It's amazing. If you liken it more towards cars, right? Like there's a reason why some people have a truck. They need towing power, they need the ability to carry heavy things. Some people want an SUV because they have more kids or need more room in their vehicles. Same things with drones, right? Our platform may not be the best if you're, let's say, a real estate agent trying to take photos of a house. We're probably a little overkill for that. What we're really targeting is the professional user that is looking to cover a very long distance. Because instead of those quadcopters that we talked about earlier that have about 20 to 30 minutes of flight time, and that's in perfect weather conditions, we fly for 2.5 hours and carry 2 pounds of payload, which enables us to carry those high fidelity cameras, these sensors that can help you actually collect data and measure down to a centimeter. So if you're talking about the ag space, that looks like being able to count yield and be able to plant and strategically apply fertilizers, topicals, more strategically. If you're using this for construction, you're using this to build a three-dimensional look of your project and being able to assess, hey, the foundation has been poured correctly. There are no major cracks, things like that. And if you're using it for maybe insurance, you're looking for pre and post disaster. And that's really important to help make sure that you're getting that you have the correct amount of money set aside to go out to fulfill those claims. So there are a lot of different purposes. That's more the commercial side. There's obviously public safety and defense,
Mm-hmm.
which, we know that all too well from the
Mm-hmm.
news industry. You see fires, you see flooding, you see tornado damage, hurricanes. And you really need a system that's very capable, that can help you search and rescue for people, that can help you, if you're using it for a tactical use, maybe look for suspects, monitor fires. So there are just so many applications, and you're only going to continue to see that to increase, especially as the market continues to grow and develop, and you're seeing more platforms like ours come to the space.
Yeah, and that's what we're watching in real time. Obviously, the military application that we've been seeing in with the war in Ukraine, and the Ukrainians and the Russians too have both used drones, to a great extent in this war, even weaponized them to some degree. We're not talking like the Predator drones
Mhm.
that the military uses. We're still talking about the smaller drones, and your drone is fits into a backpack, I guess. I mean, you
Yeah, and
collapse
so
it
there's
down and it fits into a small space.
So the wonderful thing is we actually fall kind of in between those two spaces because we're so capable, but yet so portable. You're getting the benefits of more of a Predator style system with the footprint of a quadcopter.
Mhm.
And so that's where we're really finding an interesting niche in the marketplace, and where we've found a lot of our success is that people are used to those Predator systems being extremely cumbersome. They come in big boxes as tall as I am. I'm only 5'2", so they come in like two big boxes like that. And you're trying to get these to places that are literally war zones. So that can be very tough from a logistical sense. And so if you have something that's truly, as we say, man portable, that's a game changer to have this type of technology and those types of sensors, payloads incorporated into a system.
Yeah, and your system, I think, is somewhat dynamic in that you can put any number of different
Mm-hmm.
technology onto different cameras, different sensors, and a wide variety. I think that's basically what your platform is kind of set up for, right?
Yeah, so the fancy terminology for that is a modular payload bay
Okay.
and open systems architecture. So what that
Okay.
basically means is we have about 8 baseline cameras, but we can work with folks to actually build out what it is you need. And so we've even worked with folks that are testing new tools and trying to come up with new sensors or new payloads. And so they're using our platform as a test bed for their products. The other thing about that is being open systems. So I'm sure you have many software licenses out there, and no one likes those reoccurring fees. No one likes to be stuck into a software. And so that's really important for us, is that folks, especially our DoD or government customers, they're used to using specific platforms, and we're not trying to make you use our proprietary or software. You can use your own and bring that into our system. And that's why I think we're seeing a lot of folks gravitate, because we're not trying to lock you in there. It's really, we have the craft, we have the platform. You can kind of piece it together and build out what it is you're looking to achieve.
You, you and your husband just created this, and I know that this has been rattling around in his head for a number of years,
Mm,
and it's just now. So it's taken a number of years to get there. And of course, he has expertise in
yeah.
aerospace and such like that. So this is not just something that's happened overnight. This has been kind of an evolution.
Yeah. So the hard tech world, it's funny. I was just having this conversation with someone else. It's when we come to market with a hard tech product, right? We've patented the technology, we've built the technology, we've tested the technology, we've flown the wings off the technology, right? We've tested product market fit, all of these things. We officially came to the public in April of this year. And so what we're talking about here is this public facing campaign, if you will. And in that short period of time, we've gotten some major, not only domestic attention, but international attention as well. And so we're really excited about that. Um, so my co-founder has a background in aerospace and defense, specifically working at one of the major players.
Mhm.
And previous to that, had experiences in the intelligence community. But prior to all that, when he first kind of came up with this idea and noticed the problem, it was during the conflicts in the Middle East. And so even then, they were having trouble. They knew they needed this critical aerial intelligence, but getting these systems out to the field has been extremely difficult. Even the early adopters of the military struggled with that, and they still struggle with that today. So the need is there, and it turns out a lot of people like portability. Liken it to, are you a laptop user? Or are you a desktop user? A lot of people gravitate towards laptops because they're powerful, they're easy to use, and they're portable.
Yeah, and for those used to seeing the quadcopters, and maybe
Mhm.
we can get a little bit into the difference. Quadcopters. I had my license to fly a drone. If you fly a drone in the media or for any kind of commercial operation, you have to have a license from the FAA. So with this, the quadcopter, you basically got four blades. It does suck up a lot of battery power, as you pointed
Mhm.
out. It's only about 20 minutes at the max. So you have to pop up, get your business done, and then come back. So that is the big difference with this one. I guess it has a 7 foot wingspan on it. So it really, so you don't consume as much battery and energy, I'm assuming, flying this thing just because of the design. and
Yeah,
such
the
like that. So,
efficiency from wings, right?
yeah,
As opposed
right.
to these blades of a
Hmm.
quadcopter are literally beating the air into submission. So it's more work for it to stay up in the air as opposed to having wings. You naturally have that lift. So that's part of the aerospace reasons.
Yeah, and as you pointed out, you can put a lot more gadgets and gizmos and stuff like that to fly around. And of course, you said this thing can stay up for about 2 hours, 2.5 hours is
Half
kind of
hours,
the
yeah.
time on it. Hmm.
So I want to circle back. I'll touch on that point, but
Okay.
you said you operate yours with a Part 107. Same thing goes. So you could,
Hmm.
with that same license that you have today to operate with your quadcopter, you can operate a wingspan drone. So that's another big thing. Even for folks that are in public safety, we want to make sure that they're well trained, they know how to use these systems, and if you're used to using those systems, we have a really short, easy training to make sure that you're ready to
So,
fly a wingspan
so
drone.
on that point, this is getting into the weeds as far as flying that thing. How do
Mhm.
you maintain? Do you maintain ground visibility? I mean,
Yes.
how do you have somebody else keeping an eye on the thing when it's flying?
So under FAA regulations right now, to be you're operating in a commercial sense, you have to have visibility on your drone. If you do not, you need to get a waiver through the FAA to operate. They call it beyond visual line of sight is the terminology there.
Okay.
And so that is an area that we see regulation starting to I'm going to call it advance and improve and kind of we're still working through that process. You have to remember this is a relatively new industry, and the FAA is very familiar with aircraft that carry people, and so a lot of the same rules that apply to aircraft are also applying to drones. But people are starting to realize, do you need those same stipulations and all of that same regulation regarding drones? Now,
Based on the test I took, no, you don't need all that.
yeah, and I think you're trying to
Yeah.
prevent
Yeah.
as this technology develops, you do want to have some kind of framework, right? Like these are tools. They're not toys. There are things that could happen, and I think the industry as a whole is trying to prevent things from going too overboard, and all of a sudden we have all these drones in the sky and no regulation, and who does that belong to? Are you operating in government airspace? Are you? So there
Mhm.
are a lot of different factors that come into play there. So we understand and we respect the fact that yes, there needs to be regulation, but we need to sit down and have a conversation as an industry of what does that look like? What's too much? What's too little? And kind of find that right middle ground.
So what's the next step for your company? Where are you kind of going now for the rest of the year, and kind of where you see things going?
Yeah, so we're really excited. We're going to be going to the commercial UAV Expo. That's in Las Vegas. That's September the 6th through the 8th. And so that's one of the largest international drone shows where commercial users come out, look at all these different types of drones. So we're really excited to be debuting there for the first time. And then right after that, we're going to be going to do a accelerator program out on the West Coast. And so we're excited for that. We have other opportunities here in St. Louis. We're from the Midwest. And so agriculture is a big primary focus for us early on, especially as we all know, government sometimes can take a little while to make sure that, how many times have we covered budgets and
Right.
lack thereof, should I say. So we're pursuing both paths, and we're really excited to work with people in our own backyard here in the Midwest region and make sure that we're, helping to advance the ever growing need for, higher yields and more output.
Yeah, we're all about that. All right, Michelle Madaras with Wing Expand. Did I say
Wingspan.
Wingspan? I keep
We'll
trying to
get
say
through
the
that.
X.
We'll get you.
Wingspan. All right, it was good to visit with you, and fascinating product.
Thank you.
And I'll be watching how things progress, and I'm sure I'll touch base with you again. So thanks for talking with
Good to
me
see you.
today. All right.